And I do believe we are live. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good. Great to be here.
So, your business that you were running,
Mhm.
Fanatics Media, I
Yeah.
think very, um, very creative way to go about marketing. Can you please talk us through how you came up with that idea and what attracted you to this idea of using influencers to market companies?
Well, I mean, first of all, if you look at what is most effective in marketing, the most effective thing typically is if a family member or somebody you trust extremely well recommends you use a product or service because, the thinking goes, well, they have no vested interest in telling me a lie. So you typically believe what a trusted family member or friend says before anyone else. Well, the next level down from that is somebody that you might not know personally, but you've been following or watching or just subscribing to what this person does. You've gotten to know this person through social media, or if they're a celebrity, through their movies. And so if you can get those people to talk about your products and services in a positive way, the the conversion rates on that versus a banner ad are like 16 to 1. I mean, it's just 16 times more powerful than in your typical banner ad. So that is why I like influencer marketing, and that's why it's much more effective. There's all sorts of things that go beyond that, right? It's not just picking an influencer and going for it. There's got to be all these things that need to take place to make sure they're the right influencers at the right price. But there's no argument out there. It's way more effective than your typical digital or traditional marketing.
What I find so interesting about this, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Like if a friend tells me, I think you said this on the Entrepreneur on Fire podcast, but if a friend tells me, go do X, Y, and Z, I'm like, got it, going. And if some random guy tells me, then I'm like, who are you? Why should I, why
I should
should
trust you. Yeah.
exactly. But if someone I trust says, hey, try this restaurant, then I
Right.
say, okay, it's the next place I'm going. I think you're absolutely right. And what's fascinating though is social media influencers. It's still a relatively new concept. Can you explain exactly what this term means to someone who's never heard of it before?
Yeah. So influencer marketing is simply using influencers to promote a product, a service, or a cause. And the term influencer has been, butchered around a lot. But for me, it's anyone that can get people to take an action they normally would never take, or they just needed to be pushed a little bit to take that action. Those are people with true influence, and we all don't have it, despite what everyone says. Except for if you're talking about your immediate circle, then you might have it. But when I talk about influencers, is influencers that can get strangers or people that are subscribed to them or people that have a relationship with them that's not in their inner circle to move and to act to support a cause, for example.
Yeah, and I mean, I talk to people who are older than me, people who are from my parents' generation, and I explain to them like, you know, you can make a living as an influencer on Instagram if you build a really good following and you put out quality stuff and you have people who really trust you, and then they work with a company like yours and they get connected with bigger brands and they can make a lot of money. And I don't think people understand, they're just now catching up. So I think that your company is really ahead of the curve. Um,
We like to think so. It's getting pretty crowded out there in terms of people say they can do it, but that's also what I'm fighting about. I'm debunking a lot of the things that PR agencies and people that aren't specialists in this industry are talking about or doing, because they're spending a lot of their clients' money and they're not seeing results like we see with our clients. So it's very dangerous to say you do influencer marketing, but you don't really understand how to do it or do it well, or at least suboptimally, because there is a formula, there is a process you need to go through in order to make sure that the spend that you put out there is going to pay off.
how do you think that your concepts like this are going to be affecting marketing over the next like 10 years? Do you think that more and more people are going to catch on, or do you think it's going to remain kind of a niche type of way of doing things?
Well, I mean, for the companies I deal with, most of them have an influencer marketing program already. They're just not running it effectively, or they're not paying influencers. So they get what I call tier 3 influencers, people with not a lot of influence, and maybe they're not as narrowly focused on the audience that the company wants to reach. So they think they're doing it, but they're not doing it really well. But to answer your question, it will become a staple of marketing, a marketing tactic in almost everybody's tool belt. There's no question about it, because of the power of it, because of the authenticity, especially if you're getting somebody that really likes your product or service. I mean, there's nothing better than to have somebody authentically get up there and say, this is the product I use because of X, Y, and Z. I mean, you can't do better than that. No banner ad can do that. And then, of course, all that content, if it's a blog or a video, like what we like to do, more video, it just lives on the internet forever. So you get 100 of those influencers saying your product's the best ever, and the SEO value is through the roof. So not only do they reach them with their videos, but as people are searching for your product, your industry, or a solution to a problem that your product solves, you're going to come up first.
Yeah, especially if you pair with influencers who really know what they're doing when it comes to SEO. Someone who really knows what they're doing, especially if they're a good affiliate, they're going to make a YouTube video that identifies with a search term that someone might be looking for. And then it's just them saying, hey, this brand is great. It'll solve X, Y, and Z problems. Click the link down below. And then it goes to the company. What do you look for when you're looking for influencers? Like, what makes a good influencer? How do you weed out the good people from the bad?
Well, it's really, context is important, because there are a lot of people with a lot of followers, a lot of subscribers. But if you've got somebody that doesn't drink soda and you're asking them to promote soda, that probably isn't going to work out, right? Yeah. So you got to really make sure that they live the lifestyle, that they like the product that you're looking for, or you're looking at them promoting, that they have a connection with the community that would like that particular product or service. And then you allow them to create content that's normally the content they produce for their audience. I see a lot of brands try to turn influencers into spokespeople, and that's the wrong approach. It's got to be, let the influencer do what they need to do to get your product in front of their audience in an authentic way, because audiences are getting really smart. They're going to know right away this feels like a commercial, and it's not going to do your product a service, and it's certainly not going to help the influencer out, as they're seen as a sellout. So all these things got to be, you really have to pay attention to how you do it.
I think that this is like a great example of marketing that is, I think, going to become the norm over the next 15 or 20 years, is like very authentic marketing. No more ads. I mean, ads obviously always exist, but
it'll be ads.
Yeah.
But it'll be more like it's a very authentic ad, or an entertaining ad, or something that's got a lot of humor in it. It won't be your typical, buy me because type of ad. It'll have to be more creative than that.
Yeah, I think people don't. Sometimes there's a negative connotation about marketing in general when you're talking to people who have who aren't in business. People in business understand for sure,
right?
But the average person is like, oh, they hear ads and they think, oh, ads that pop up on my screen when I'm trying to watch the new Game of Thrones on the torrent.
Or just read an article. I mean, how many ads? You got to scroll by 15 ads just to get through an article these days. It's ridiculous.
Bad. It's terrible.
I hate it. Yeah.
It's terrible. So, we hate that too. That's not marketing. That's shitty marketing.
That's like really crappy marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. Good marketing is what you're talking about, where it doesn't even, it's not even, it's something authentic. It's something that people want this information. They have an influencer like the people you're connecting with, and who they genuinely like. The influencer genuinely likes the product, and they make they really want to tell people about it.
Yeah, and they turn it into a story if that's what they do very well, or they make it funny, or it's a prank video, whatever it is. Let them take care of it themselves, because they've proven they know how to entertain and educate an audience. And that's what it boils down to. But a lot of brands don't want to give up that creative control, and they want to make sure they micro manage these influencers, and that's where it goes wrong.
Yeah, because if you're working with the right influencer, they're going to be motivated to make a great video, or a great ad, or a great post, or whatever it is. If they're on board,
right.
And you don't need to. or you shouldn't have to. And if you do have to, then you're with the wrong guy.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
I think that, kind of going back to what I said before, like you're way ahead of the curve because you're helping out two industries. You're helping out entrepreneurs who have a business, but then you're also helping out the influencer and helping that become a more profitable business.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of influencers that produce a lot of great content. They're not being paid for it. And so what we do is they say, we're going to pay you to produce content just like any brand would do, right? They hire us to produce content for the brand, but now we're adding an influencer into the mix because they have built-in distribution, right? Through their subscribers, their fans, what have you, through their social media channels. And it comes across way more effective than and more authentic than a commercial would. So why would you produce a commercial if you can get an influencer to do it for you in a very creative way that's seen as a natural, authentic story that's coming from the mouth of a third party instead of from the brand directly? And to me, there's no comparison.
Yeah, I think Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it all the time. Like TV's dead. You know, you got to find a different way of doing things.
Yeah, I don't know if TV's dead, but I think there's way less expensive marketing tactics that you can do in order to reach your target audience and become more effective with that message or with that story or with that content, for sure. Yeah, if you're doing TV ads and you're not doing influencer marketing, you're blowing it. You're wasting a ton of money.
Yeah, it's so expensive. There's no, and the thing about
try measuring it. Very tough. I've done it.
Exactly. And there's no way to do like click the link below to buy this now on TV. It's not going to happen.
It's an 800 number, but then you got to staff that. And that's more of an infomercial. You can put up a website, but then you don't know who's coming. Are you coming to the website because you saw my TV commercial? I guess you could have a little code at the end of it, but a lot of people forget that. It's terrible. Yeah. TV advertising has a place, especially around awareness. But if you're comparing it directly to digital marketing and influencer marketing, where you could put the link right there, you could track it, you can measure it, you could see actually what the ROI is. I'm just telling you, take money away from your TV budget and either spend it all on influencer marketing or video marketing or digital marketing, or at least a portion of it. Check to see if it works, and then slowly over time, we have a lot of customers doing this. Slowly over time, start moving it over because TV's got great range, no question. But if your objective is ROI, you're going to find influencer marketing is going to be much, much better solution for you.
So influencer marketing, like we've been talking about, 5 or 10 years ago wasn't even really a thing. Is there anything that you see kind of coming down the pipeline that will be like this, a new way to market yourself? Is there anything that you see today that will be big in maybe 5 years?
Artificial intelligence will be bigger, where you'll have bots, and we're already starting to create them. You'll have bots that know who to deliver content to, when to deliver it, and will self-optimize the content so that the experience that you're getting in an ad unit, let's just call it an ad unit, or a video, or a blog post, what have you, is just custom tailored to you because the bot has already researched you, has watched you, has observed you, has maybe interacted with you in the past. And so it'll fine tune the content to the person you're trying to go after. That's going to crush. And then you could use an influencer as part of that process, of course, is why we have a lot of interest in it. But that is going to change the game dramatically, and it'll be better for everybody.
I mean, it's still relatively new, but the Facebook just has their messenger bots, and you can create an ad on Facebook. For people who don't know, you can create an ad on Facebook, and you can make the ad an opt-in basically for people to get a messenger bot, and then a robot will start messaging you and talking to you like as a person. And there's some messenger bots that from influencers and people that I follow, their messenger bots are hilarious. They write up like a really funny script. They have like funny videos thrown in there. And it's like, this is great. I mean, obviously you're not live chatting with the actual person, but you feel like you are.
Yeah, you should send me a few of those. We created one on Fanatics Media as well. It's only about influencer marketing, so you can learn more about it. And we've got downloadable guides and videos ourselves. So we're stepping in pretty slowly. Then we could set up a drip campaign with these messenger bots. So it'll ping you every 4 days to see, if there's anything else that we can help you with, or there's a new video, check out this video. Pretty powerful stuff. So we're getting into bots and matching them with influencers. Imagine if you're an organization and we get an influencer for you to head up and be the personality behind your bot. We just essentially ask them a bunch of questions. We get it on video or we get it on audio, and then the influencer is answering the questions for the brand on the brand's behalf. So an influencer saying, here's what's in the product, or here's what I like about the product, or what have you. So matching bots with influencers is kind of our next step, our micro step, until we get into full-blown AI, which I still think is 3 to 5 years away.
That's a really good idea, especially if you have an influencer who's like really funny.
Yeah.
You're basically hiring like a stand-up comedian to write you some jokes.
Yeah.
And that's a good idea. And it's all automatic too.
It's all automatic. It works 24/7. They don't take vacations or lunch breaks.
Yeah.
It's a solution.
And it's better than email marketing, I think.
Way better.
Yeah, because
the caveat though is Facebook could turn this thing off anytime they want. And so you still have to try and get their email addresses. Maybe not up front, but over time. Try to send them a coupon. Do something that's going to get their email address, because email is the only thing that's not controlled by somebody else, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. And obviously, if you have their email and then you add them to their newsletter and you have different content on your newsletter, then you've got, you're more involved in their lives.
Right. Exactly.
That's cool.
But I like Messenger because a little red dot, at least at this point, shows up every time you send out a message, or the automated messenger kicks off. I mean, you could do full-blown campaigns with your subscribers on Facebook Messenger. I mean, you could send out a blast pretty easily. So it's a lot easier than email. And it shows up as a little red dot, and you know how addicted we are to those little red dots on Facebook. Yeah.
That's cool. That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. I got a few.
I bet. That's awesome. Yeah. Have you thought about like pairing up with stand-up comedians or anyone like that to write scripts?
Yeah, I mean, the brands I deal with are typically afraid of that type of thing. I'm like, push the envelope here, because somebody else is going to do it, and then you're going to be looking like a Johnny come lately. I haven't thought of a stand-up comedian. I like that approach. I like to find influencers that are funny. They'll do it themselves, but hiring a stand-up comedian could be a good thing as well. I mean, if they're not that funny and you want it to be kind of a humorous back and forth conversation, like, what is it? Who are the beer company that just retired the most famous man in the world? What was that? Dos Equis.
Yeah.
They could do a funny one with the most, what is it, the most famous man in the world, or the most, I can't remember his title, but they could do one with him and just stay in character the whole time. Have a team of comedy writers write that up. That would be a killer. That would be a killer program.
Yeah, people would love it. Like we were talking about before, people like TV ads to an extent because it's awareness and it's funny a lot of the time. Yeah. But you can't like interact with the person on the TV. But if with the bots, you kind of can. Obviously, you could do it. You could do the same type of idea through email marketing, but you're not like literally going back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, you could put links in there to do a kind of a choose your own adventure. We've done that. But once you're off email, you've got to have another platform to kind of go back and forth on. So why not just either, if you're doing on email, go to a bot, and so then all the interactions on the bot, or you go to like a YouTube video series, choose your own adventure YouTube video series. I've seen that done. There's a guitar company that I covered on my own YouTube channel that did that. So you'd have this choose your own adventure as you're going through each of these guitar videos. Very, very well done.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So another question I had, so on this podcast, I like to use the term future focused, like companies and people, brands that know what's up and know what's going to happen in the next like 15, 30 years. What is your opinion on what makes a company future focused? Like the companies that you work with where you just feel like we're clicking, they get it. I don't have to sell them this idea of influencer marketing. What do those companies look like?
So for me, those companies are companies that empower their employees to try new things, to make mistakes. And you got to keep them in check. But they set up a framework that says, okay, we don't know what the future is. Nobody does. But we see a few trends. So let's explore these trends to see if there's anything that can benefit our organization, or even more importantly, our organization's customers. So the most innovative I've seen do that. The other companies like Microsoft will wait until an innovation has already been proven, and then they'll go buy the company for billions, right? When they could have set it up where they're empowering their employees to become innovative, to try new things, to kill things that aren't working. I just think that's a better culture. And while it's messy, I think if you breed that within the company itself, like Amazon's doing, then you'll have a much happier outcome, and the company will be around a lot longer.
Amazon's a great example of that. I'm reading Jeff Bezos's biography right now, and yeah, he's all about it, all about innovation. I like what he says, that the customer shouldn't have to invent. Plus, it's not their job to invent things. It's the company's job to invent things on the customer's behalf.
Right.
Cool perspective.
Right on. Yeah, Amazon, just wait. They're just getting started. If I'm in retail, I'm very, very nervous.
Yes, they just bought Whole Foods. I mean,
but just their innovation, the drones that are coming, and the way that they're making it super convenient and easy to buy any kind of product that's out there. Now they're going after Alibaba with the B2B products and parts. And I mean, man,
good.
They're going to own the supply chain here pretty soon.
No offense to Alibaba. I know they help a lot of people.
Yeah.
But they sure could improve their customer service, and they're not very beginner friendly or user friendly, rather. Yeah. Like they can be, but they got some plenty of problems.
Correct. Yeah, good point.
But what types of new technologies do you think we're going to start to see in the next 10 years? Stuff that, like, there's plenty of things that I know. Let me think of how to word this. Plenty of technologies that I know are going to be coming that I don't know about, because I'm, just new to the game. Mm-hmm. But I'm guaranteed that there's technologies that you see that I don't know about. What do you think some of those might be that you know about that other people might not, because they're just not quite in the game as much?
But there's 4 big trends that everyone should be paying attention to, and there's a very famous Facebook graph that kind of illustrates what they're doing over the next 5 years. And it's AI, it's AR, which is augmented reality, it's VR, virtual reality, and it's Internet of Things. So all of those just mean, okay, well, Internet of Things are connected devices. So, your Nest thermostat connects to your computer and a camera. And so it's everything. All these products are talking to one another without any human intervention. AR obviously is augmented reality. That's the Pokemon craze that you saw. Right. Virtual reality is where you're totally immersed in a new world, wearing a headset, and hopefully in the future you're not wearing anything, kind of like the holodeck from Star Trek. But there hasn't been a killer app for that yet. And so we're not going to see anything out of the virtual reality space that's going to really resonate with my audience, which are marketers, until we find that killer app, whatever it is. I actually think it'll be a game that just blows everybody away, but they're not even close yet that I've seen. AI, the last one's artificial intelligence. There's aspects of artificial intelligence that are out there, but right now it's just programmatic. Everyone's seen Watson beat Jeopardy, but that was just a super fast computer that would Google, essentially. It wasn't Google, but would look for the answer on the World Wide Web, assign probabilities to it, and then state that answer on live. Now, that to me is not really AI. It's more programmatic. So true AI, where you could fool somebody, the Turing test, if you will, I still think is 5 to 10 years away. But there'll be aspects of it that you should be tuning into right now, like chatbots that can work on your behalf 24/7 without any human intervention.
Yeah, I think chatbots are a good example because you can fool people with a chatbot. Like if you don't explicitly
Smart.
say, yeah, yeah, if you don't explicitly say in the copy, like this is a chatbot, by the
Yeah.
way, you could fool some people for
Yeah,
sure.
you could fool some people depending on what they're asking or typing in. But also some of the chatbots that we're working on right now is behind the scenes. It's also looking at your profile and surfacing information that you didn't type in.
Oh,
So it's becoming more and more intelligent as you speak to it. So that's the kind of the first step for me into true AI, where you're gathering data and then the AI is making the connections on your behalf for you.
yeah.
So that's a good first step, but we're a ways off from really good,
Yeah.
really powerful AI that kind of spooks you and I.
I know. I think thankfully we're a ways off. I still think there's so many moral implications left to figure out. There's people like Sam Harris and Elon Musk talking all
Right.
sorts of doom. But I think we
I
got to
go
figure
back.
it out.
I go back to Isaac Asimov's Four Rules for Robots. So I'm hoping, but there's always some Yahoo that'll screw that one up.
What
But
are those four rules? I don't think I
they're
know.
like, don't kill any humans. I should really know
Yes.
this off the top of my head, but there's like four rules that every robot must follow. You could Google it. I'm gonna do that after this podcast because
Yeah.
I should have it at the tip of my
Me too.
tongue. But
Me too.
it's been 20 years since I read his book.
Yeah, I now that you mention it, I know what you're talking about. Like basically robots don't kill us and take over the world.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
get that one squared away.
It's got to be programmed into the software that's driving it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. From the four things you mentioned, I think, I mean, obviously AI is fascinating, but I think augmented reality is going to be the next big one.
Why
You
do
know,
you think that over AI? See, I think AI is going to be the next big one. But why do you think AR? Just, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just curious as to why you think that.
because I think AR is more immediate. Like AI, like we've been saying, I think AI will be the bigger one in 20 years.
Yeah.
But AR, I think will be the big one in 4 years,
But
three.
we're limited by our devices, though. It's like
Yeah, I
it's
know.
AR. You got to hold up a phone. The Google glasses aren't ready yet. Even this
They're
version
lame
2.
too. I think you're gonna have like sweet contacts, like little
Who
contact
wants to
lenses.
wear those? I don't want to wear them.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, you got to find the right device. That's a good point. But AR is for me, that's so cool. Like VR from I don't know. VR is great for sure.
Yeah.
But VR sounds like very time consuming. I don't know. And I feel like I just get lost in it. I feel like I'd waste so much time in VR. But I guess maybe it wouldn't be a waste. Maybe I'd be on the edges of human expansion, So I guess I don't know if you can call that a waste.
Well, I mean, if
But
you're learning something, like imagine
yeah,
how
that's
education can be completely redeveloped, redesigned to be a VR experience. So instead of talking about these things that we read in our textbooks, what if you could experience them firsthand and ask questions to a little AI or avatar that's sitting right there, right? Kind of the chatbot example. How
yeah,
cool would that be? So you can learn on your own time and really be there in an experimental mode, which is the way I like to learn.
yeah,
I mean, reading textbooks for a couple of days, I start tuning out, especially the way they're written when I went to college. But if I were there with a VR experience and I was able to interact with an AI avatar, I think I'd be there all day if it was a subject I was interested in.
that's a really good point. I like AR. What do you think this falls under? Does this fall under VR or AR? Is if let's say right now we're talking over Zoom, but what if somehow there was a way where we could connect and it's like we're in the same room? Like I beam you into my room through some sort of device, and it's like
Like a
you're
holograph?
sitting, yeah, like a hologram, like like Princess Leia being broadcasted by
Yeah.
R2D2, but it's you, the same size you, and you're able to like hang out with my cat who's sitting right here.
That's like
Yeah,
a hologram. I'd say it's probably AR because the real world is still there. You're
yeah,
just putting something digital in it that you can see. So I'd probably consider that more AR.
yeah,
And that has yet to be proven. I'd like to see if that's as effective as being there in person, because if so, that's going to save a lot of people money, when they're wanting to talk to people from afar instead of getting on a plane. You could be sitting here right in my office and we could be having this conversation that way, which,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I mean, depends on how real I think it looks.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too, and this has like been the topic of other podcasts I've done, is I think that we're going to see a huge pickup in the digital nomad lifestyle, where more and more people, especially from my generation, are going to be building brands online, maybe becoming social media influencers, and they're going to travel the world, which means they're going to be away from friends and family. So I think that for my generation and people like me who I live in Germany, like if there was something like that, I would spend, however much it costs to have that, because then I'm like, okay, great. I can travel the world, but I can kind of hang out with all my friends and family from all over the world from anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty close.
So are you working on this technology yourself?
No, but I should. It sounds pretty sweet. Maybe this will be my new thing.
Yeah, I mean, if
you said
you get a good demonstration or you put something together that's a good pilot, I'll jump aboard immediately.
I'll let you know. That'd be cool. It'll be like the promo reel, just be me like sitting in my room alone.
Well, imagine pitching this to VCs, right? You just sit at your desk and it beams you right into the VC's office. I mean, it would be the ultimate killer presentation. You'd have hundreds of millions at your fingertips. But I can imagine the technology's probably really hard to develop. Just thinking, somebody would have done it by now if it was easy.
Yeah, I'll come up with everything else. I'll come up with like the presentation, the pitch,
right,
everything. But I know that I'll get to the point where I have to actually design it. I'll be like, I don't know, man. I got no clue. Right. But that's it. I'll keep that one.
There you go. Keep it. All right. Well, I got to wrap things up. I'm sorry. I got another appointment here.
Is there anything you want to say or anything you want to promote before we wrap this up?
I would say if you're interested in influencer marketing or chatbots, go to fanaticsmedia.com, FANATICS media.com, and just reach out to us. We'd be happy to help.
Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.